I dropped out of my computer science degree, and today, 3 years later, I'm making this video to give you a little bit of an update. Now let's go all the way back to the beginning of January 2021. This is when I decided to drop out of the program, and at this point I was 21 years old, I was studying at the University of Ottawa, I was doing this remotely because COVID was happening, I had just finished an internship at Microsoft, and I had completed 5 out of 8 of the semesters of my degree. So I only had 3 left, and I was very close to the end. But at this point, my YouTube channel was picking up, I was making a lot of money online, and I was working really hard. I was doing probably 10-hour days every single day, and it was starting to get exhausting and something I just didn't want to continue. I was doing this degree, I was doing it online, so I wasn't really learning that much, and I kept asking myself, why am I still doing this degree? Why do I actually want to get this? Now, what ultimately led me to making this decision is kind of considering why I wanted the degree and realizing that all the things I wanted out of it, I pretty much already had. I had landed a dream job, I was making a bunch of money, I was a competent developer and had learned a lot of the core stuff in that first 2.5 years, and I really just thought the degree was not worth it, and that 1.5 year long opportunity cost was just not worth the time. I could be spending that time building my business, scaling things up, and fortunately I did that. I worked hard during the time I wasn't in my degree, and ultimately that leads us to where we are today. So let me explain to you my experience over the past few years not having this degree and how my thought process has shifted a little bit and some of the few things that I do regret. Now, over the past 3 years, I've done a lot of stuff, most of it online, and a lot of that is kind of demonstrating and showing my skills. I've been really fortunate to have a great platform in a way where I can make money and demonstrate skills at the same time, and fortunately that's meant that most people never ask me if I have a computer science degree. Maybe they assume that I have one, maybe they just know that I don't. I don't know what the reason is, but over the past few years, I've pretty much never been asked if I have a degree. It's never come up in an interview or as a qualification, and what it's led me to see is that if you can demonstrate your skills in another way and show that you are actually capable from real world experience, you don't really need a degree. That's kind of something you can crutch on if you don't have those other things. You don't have experience, you haven't built applications, you're not actually a good developer. At least you can say you have a computer science degree, but in my case, it just really wasn't relevant in a lot of the different conversations that I had. Now, at the same time, I've also taught millions of people online, and so many of you have come to me in private, public on YouTube comments, and telling me that you've landed software development jobs without a degree because of content like mine and your ability to demonstrate your skills, have a strong portfolio, present yourself well. I've had people recently come out of my software development program, no degrees, they spend about 6 months in there and they're landing jobs in between 4 to 6 weeks. Obviously that's not everyone, but it's shown me that it's possible. You just need to go out of your way to really do more than someone that would have a computer science degree. But at the same time, you didn't have to spend 4 years getting that degree, so you have a lot more time to demonstrate those skills, build up a strong portfolio, and really present yourself well. Now, I will also say that one thing that's been a bit of a hindrance is that I can't list, Bachelor of Computer Science or finished a computer science degree, especially when I'm making things like courses. It's always nice to have those kind of academic qualifications. So not having them, again, is, probably one slight negative I can see from not having the degree. And sometimes when I'm in rooms with super highly educated people that all have PhDs, masters, crazy education from all of these, top level schools, you feel like a little bit of an outsider because sure, you know a lot of the same stuff as them, but you don't have that badge under your name. For example, I was just at a developer conference and all the guys that are speaking, with the exception of me pretty much, all have PhDs, masters, double degrees, double undergrads, all these research papers and all these things that just aren't really in my world anymore because I'm no longer in academia. Anyways, that has been my experience, but let me talk to you about a few things I kind of regret with the degree and some of the only reasons I would consider if I went back actually finishing it. Now, overall, I'm happy with my decision, and I probably wouldn't today, but a few things that have been a bit of a disadvantage. Now, the first thing is visas and immigration. I didn't know this at the time when I decided not to get a degree, but apparently a lot of countries just won't actually let you move there or work there if you don't have an undergraduate degree. Now, there is some exceptions to that rule. I don't know if I would fall in those exceptions, but if I wanted to work in the US, for example, it'd be a lot more difficult to get me a work permit because I don't have an undergraduate degree. Even certain places that I've been considering moving to, for example, like Singapore, one of the requirements, or at least one of the things that gives you some points that can allow you to move there is having an undergraduate degree. So that is a disadvantage. I don't think it's a reason necessarily why I would go back and finish it, but something to consider, especially for people that maybe want to immigrate to other countries, or maybe you're from a less fortunate country and you want to go to a place like US, Canada, maybe some place in Europe where I believe they require degrees, or at least that's kind of a strong consideration. Now, the next thing is the lack of opportunity for further education. So if you wanted to do maybe a master's degree or a PhD or eventually become a professor, even certain courses or certificates you can't do unless you have an undergraduate degree. So that's one thing, again, not a massive factor. And then lastly, I would say it's just a little bit of that imposter syndrome. Generally speaking, I'm confident in my development skills, but a lot of times when you're surrounded by a lot of very, very educated people and you don't have that qualification, even though they might not look down upon you, you do kind of get that internal feeling like, oh damn, they're smarter than me, they know all this stuff, or they've learned all these things that I haven't done, and that can be, slightly negative, as I talked about, especially in like academic conferences and in the education space, which is where I am. Now, overall, I am happy with my decision. If I could go back and change anything, I wish that my YouTube channel would have started getting successful maybe about a year later, because then I would have just continued school, because I didn't have that kind of huge opportunity cost that was creating, and then I could have got the degree, had the YouTube channel, and still been super young and having kind of a great life and a great career. Overall, though, I really don't regret anything. In that year and a half, I really did a lot of stuff. I demonstrated my skills. I made up for anything that degree would have given me, and my life really has been great since. I've been traveling around. I started a second YouTube channel called Life with Tim if you guys want to check that out. And I know that my situation is unique, but I wanted to give you guys a bit of an update and just kind of share what I'm thinking about it now that I'm maybe a little bit more mature, or that I've been detached from the decision for a few years. Anyways, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Are you doing your computer science degree? Are you contemplating dropping out or maybe not even doing one? Let me know what you think. And with that said, I'll see you in the next video.